why not do what you want to do every day? Because
Right.
crazy question, why not? Just do.
If I can help push the game in a positive direction in the States or in the world.
When you get back into the youth game, it's about the business
In the
side of it. It's
game
about
of
retaining
football,
players. It's
wisdom's
about
key.
adding.
Listeners tuning in deep like a sea. From the pitch to the mic, we share our dreams. Voices echoing loud, hear the passion's themes. Passion and knowledge, that's our goal. Stories unfold, let's take control. From the field we rise, let the voices be heard. Every insight shared, every single word. Football's the game, but wisdom's the prize. Join the conversation, it's time to rise. Time to rise. Coaches drop knowledge, seasoned players shine. Directors with vision, sharing their line. From strategy to heart, it's all on display. Unfolding the journey, every pass, every play. Learn from the best, feel the drive. In this football world, become alive. From the field we rise, let the voices be heard. Every insight shared, every single word. Football's the game, but wisdom's the prize. Join the conversation, it's time to rise. From the field, we're breaking ground. Voices of football and knowledge we're found. From the field, we're breaking ground. Voices of football and knowledge we're found.
I can't tell you.
So it's how do you make that lesson fun for the crowd that you're
found it on my own was I
Coaches
stumbled
drop
across
knowledge,
US
seasoned
soccer
players shine.
running center.
Directors with vision, sharing the line. From strategy to heart, it's all on display. Unfolding the journey, every pass, every play. Learn from the best, feel the drive. In this football world, we come alive. Learn from the best, feel the drive. In this football world, we come alive. From the field we rise.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of From the Field, Voices of Football. We're thrilled to introduce Jordan Prouty, athletic coordinator at St. Gregory's School. Jordan's diverse journey in the world of sports shines through his work, where he combines a passion for physical education and coaching with academic excellence. Currently pursuing a degree in sports science and coaching at Russell Sage College. A former standout athlete, Jordan's leadership extends beyond the field, from earning second-team all-league honors in high school soccer to co-founding Spindles United. His entrepreneurial spirit and commitment to community sports are truly inspiring. He brings his love for teamwork and mental resilience into everything he does, mentoring young athletes and fostering vibrant athletic culture at St. Gregory's. Join us as we dive into Jordan's personal and professional journey, exploring his love for soccer, his coaching philosophy, and how he has made positive impact on and off the field. Coach Jordan, thank you so much for joining me on this podcast with me.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm super excited to talk about everything that we got to talk about.
All right, yeah. So first question I got is, can you take us back on a journey on your childhood, on that the most earliest memory you got of you playing soccer?
Yeah, so I mean, I've played soccer pretty much as long as I feel like I've stepped onto the earth. I grew up in upstate New York, and pretty much started playing soccer around 4 or 5 years old, playing at the youth level. Growing up in an area where soccer is probably the biggest sport, so kind of was able to get into the sport really young. Never played on travel teams till I got older, but I was able to pick one sport growing up the way I grew up. My parents were at this point in their life, they could afford certain things. And one of the things that they really tried to get us to do was sports. So me and my older brother, we picked soccer. It was going to be kind of like the cheapest sport. It's the sport that I feel like anybody can play and anybody can get into. It's the world's game. So growing up in the area of Cohoes is basically my hometown. Again, soccer was probably the biggest sport. Grew up into it. And as I got older and older, I kind of fell in love with the game more. I don't think it was really until about middle school or high school when I felt like I could pursue something after grade level soccer. But basically my brother and I in the backyard, he would put me in goal. Had to be goal because he wanted to score. So he wanted to score every single goal he could on me and show what a big brother could do. Fortunately for him, I got better as we went on because I just got so much practice. And then I just loved goalie. Nobody else ever wanted to do it, it felt like, and I just always would put my hand up. I'm ready to go. Ready to go, coach. That's me. I always wanted to be very coachable. So as I kind of grew up, the years went on. I grew and I really loved the sport and continuously pursued it until about high school, and then I went on to play college as well.
Okay. Did you ever get to face your brother, like in an actual game situation?
So other than we were able to be on the team for a lot of our years growing up in Coes, they have a pretty structured youth soccer system.
Mhm.
Starting out at around 2 to 5, and it goes all the way up to eighth grade. So a lot of the times they would sort you onto your siblings' teams. So most of the time I was playing with my brother, which was also obviously a great experience. But
Okay.
I'll always have the bragging rights of moving on forward with soccer.
He doesn't play soccer no more, or?
No, so he stopped soccer in the middle school, but he was probably my biggest inspiration why I wanted to continue to play soccer for him.
Okay. So that's my question, right? So as you look back, your journey, your soccer journey, has your brother been the most influential person in your life?
Definitely have a couple of individuals that stuck out. My brother, my nana, my mom, etc. Kind of, they all have their own different personalities that pushed me to be who I am today. And I think the advice given or different things or how they were able to get out of their own situations definitely propelled me to want to do a lot more because not that I came from an underprivileged area, but there was more that I wanted from where I came from. So I think
Okay.
that my biggest inspiration, wanting to do better generation after generation. I've always wanted to strive for better.
Okay. So at what point, because you said, they helped you strive to be better, right? Your
Yeah.
family. At what point did you realize, like, I want to keep doing soccer for the rest of my life? I wanted not just a game, but more than just a game.
Yeah, so growing up, I was only able to pick one sport. That was like the thing. We only could pick one because sports are expensive,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
all know it's expensive. So once I chose soccer I basically stuck with that. And I think, I'm not the tallest. I mean, I'm 5'9", and as a goalkeeper, that's not necessarily heard of. One of the biggest things that made me want to do more because I felt like people were always telling me I couldn't. So I think that was something that helped me. And I think I decided in probably eighth or ninth grade that I wanted to play collegiate soccer. It became like something I obsessed with, and I didn't really know how to do that. So I think that was probably the time period where I was like, I want to pursue soccer because it gave me an outlet. It gave me something I could look forward to every single week or have goals or set different things that I want to achieve. And I think soccer is a great way to connect a lot of different people together.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That community that you can build off of soccer, and you just mentioned it yourself. You were kind of obsessed with it. So for me, that's kind of a little bit of like passion, inspire you to get you that passion for the beautiful game.
I think I obsessed over the process.
Okay.
You go to practice and you want to get better, and getting better is something that's a big part of my personality. I'm very driven, so I want to be the best at everything that I do. So it's just from a million different things. It could be competing with my brother, growing up with my siblings, always wanted to be better than each other. So I always have
Okay.
a very competitive person. And that was kind of where I got my drive from, being so competitive. And I think that kind of propelled me into loving the process of soccer and then loving the results that I get from soccer and loving where I get to from soccer.
So you like the competitive aspect of it, just being able to like be the best you could be on the field.
Yeah, I always like to play with a lot of confidence. I was a very confident player because just felt like if that's what I needed to be, especially with my size, etc. So I think that having the confidence was a way to be able to succeed. Um, I try to be very aware of my situations as well. So obviously I know at certain points I'm not going to be the best player, but having that mentality, I think, is what was able to separate me at points.
Was there a point, like you say, I'm not the best player? Was there another a time you can remember where another goalkeeper was better than you, and you lost your position, your starting position?
Yeah, a perfect example is going into college. I played at Russell Sage College, a Division III school in New York, where I grew up as well. And when you go into college, every player that's on the team was their best player in high school. They're the best player on the travel team. They were the MVPs. They were the goalies of the year, etc. And what separated you was found out quickly. So I think first week of preseason of my freshman year, I had a culture shock. Going from that mentality of I'm the best player to
Mhm.
can I fit in? Do I belong here? And those were the difference. And I struggled a lot of my collegiate career to obtain playing time. And so it was a constant battle. So I kind of had to change my mindset throughout the years to be able to be successful.
You mentioned that change of mindset, right? How did that affect your mindset, or how did you change? What did you change?
So it's a process. So at first I was negative. I was not responding. I was upset, and you take it personal at points because I was 17, 18 years old in
Right,
college
right, yeah.
world, and I wasn't. So I think that learning to be a teammate and being a even better person was part of the process. And there was certain players in my collegiate career that helped me with that. There's this one player named Christian Valstuen from Norway, happened to be in Albany, New York to play college soccer. And he was somebody that I was able to really look up to because he just was not only our best player by far, but he was just such a great person. So I learned to be a great teammate is also be a good person. And I think that it took a lot of growing, it took a lot of reality checks. And then finally, when I buying into something is what helped me grow as a person.
Did you eventually win the starting position as a goalie?
So at points, I was able to obtain some playing time. I mean, I competed week in, week out.
Mhm.
The goalies ahead of me were just extremely great goalkeepers. Week one of preseason, we had a Division I transfer come in. His name was Noah Murphy. He was a great goalkeeper, and that was my freshman year. And then I also had another goalkeeper ahead of me named Tyler Brennan, who, like, even this past season, he just transferred into Siena, which is a Division I school, as a
Okay.
grad player. And he also played for the New York Shockers in upstate New York, who have repeatedly been successful in the NPSL and the
Mhm.
UPSL as well. So I definitely had to earn my time. I had to continuously put in the work and play in games and kind of just be there as a teammate over the couple years that I had been playing.
Was there a time you just felt like you want to have that victim mentality? You're like, oh man, I'm just not that good. Was there ever?
Yeah, it's a constant battle because, like I said, you go in thinking that you're the best player and you learn really quickly what it takes to be that level. And that's partly the reason why I love coaching so much because I believe that I've always been able to see the game, the right way to play or what I could do. And I definitely feel like some points I just didn't have the tools equipped to be able to be successful, even more successful as a player. But I don't like to think that. I think everything happens for a reason, So how my playing career has shaped and has been was meant to be, and I learned from it and grown from it.
So after your college days, they're done. You decide to hang up your boots, or do you still play nowadays?
So I actually my this past year was my last year playing, and I actually tore my labrum. I had a slap tear in my right shoulder that happened when it was like one of my last games I ever played, and just completely tore my shoulder. And basically, it shut down my senior season. I had
Oh
just was
wow.
cleared to play my last season, and so it was a big blow for me. And basically, took about a year off from playing, and now I kind of play in adult amateur, but mostly focused on the coaching aspect now.
So right after college, you went into coaching. How's that? Was that a little bit of difficult transition, or was it just I'm okay with it?
Yeah, so I there's positives in both. There's great things about each. That playing aspect, I don't think can ever be replaced by anything. Definitely the time aspect and the routine aspect of it is very similar. And I think what you see out of what you get out of the players is almost as good, or if not better, than the playing days.
So I know you have a sports psychology, right?
Yes.
What strategies do you use to install the importance of mental resilience and teamwork in young athletes, given your background in sports psychology?
Yeah, so I pursued my degree at Russell Sage for physical education, and now I'm in my master's program, which is sports psychology, coaching, and mental performance. I think using what I learned as a player has been a a big role in what I consider my version of my philosophy of psychology. And I think that it's a topic that not a lot of young athletes are taught. And what is so important about sports is that it's 90% psychological and 10% physical a lot of the time. Showing up and being in person is that 10%. It's takes a big toll on your body, but also your thinking and your intelligence as a player is so much more important sometimes than your physical skill. Because I mean, you look at a guy like Messi, who's 5'5", 140 pounds. You compare him to, say, Adama Traore, who's 5'10", and he's ripped. And it's like, what separates those players? A lot, because we know how great Lionel Messi is, but it's also his intelligence. And so that's what I try to talk to my players about is, not only do the simple things make the best players great, but you should always be 2 steps ahead of your opponent. How the ball is going to bounce against the ground and how you're going to react to it, or how you're going to use your body to separate yourself from an attacker, a defender, or as a goalkeeper, when am I going to time my saves? So psychologically, it's so important to be aware. Being aware is so important because you're always conscious of what's going to happen. And in soccer games and in any sport, really, everything's moving at a millions mile pace.
Mm-hmm.
You're always moving, you're always thinking, you're always figuring out what to do next. And I think the best players separate themselves from not only knowing what they're going to do once they receive a ball or receive an action in sports, but what's going to happen next and already having that step plan. So being psychologically strong is important. And that's just the playing aspect, but also about how you can receive criticism and how you can receive positive feedback and how it develops in your brain. I think that's super important. I think a lot of young athletes in time learn how to be coachable and learn how to digest information, but it takes time. So being psychologically strong is important. It's not easy. And something that a mental coach taught us in college was controlling the controllables. Control what you can control, because that's the only thing that's in your hands. You can't control what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen even in a play after the play that you have right now. But what can you control? That's your effort, your attitude, and your overall psyche, your mental strength.
Teach it. How would you show it to the athletes?
Yeah, so I mean, again, it's kind of situational. I think that showing them examples is a great thing. I like to use technology and teaching my players certain things, showing them what a top-notch athlete does or prepares, simply by showing them, videos or documentaries or different kind of things like that can kind of engage their cognitive ability. And I think the main thing is how I structure, how I word things to people and how I word things, test them with comprehensive questions. When you're doing a drill, don't just set out the cones and you tell them this is what you're doing. Don't you set it out, you show them this is how you do it. Then they do it, and then you come back and you ask them why they did it this way, or why they needed to do it this way, or give them constructive criticism and test them by trying to give them questions and also lead them into success, but make sure that they are being challenged. And I think that's something that I like to do, is try to challenge my players, challenge my athletes as a coach. And I think that keeping your players on their toes is the best way to improve their psychological ability.
Yeah, no, I agree. The asking questions,
Yeah.
Because if you just tell them right away, many times they will know, they don't learn. You don't let them think.
It's so important to challenge your players, because otherwise they can be steadfast, they can be happy with or content with what they're doing. And I think being content is plateauing, it's staying still, and I don't like to stay still, and I don't want my players to stay still. I want them to be hungry and I want them to be active.
So like in recreational soccer, there's like a lot of lines, right?
Yeah.
Many times they just do the lines. Like you say yourself, I don't like to have my players standing. I like to have them doing something. How would you change that instead of just having lines?
So I think that the lines are oftentimes a place for people to go to as like a starting point. I just like to keep my athletes moving, constantly rotating, warming up, and trying to play outside the lines. I think it's important to, again, keep your athletes on your toes, trying maybe some untraditional techniques or trying just different things and making sure that they haven't seen a drill more than once. If it is a drill, it's more than once, it's because it's a good drill. And I just think just pushing your athletes to the boundary is important.
I agree with you there again. After that, because you're coaching, right?
Yep.
Do you coach it? Because I know you started your own club. Is that
Yeah.
the only place you coach, or you coach for another club?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've coached probably at this point 4 or 5 different travel teams, different levels, different ages. I started college in 2021 and I played, and we can obviously talk about Spindles in more depth, but that's when Spindles was started my freshman year. But I've coached at a variety of different club teams. I played club with a club called FC Dutchman, and immediately after graduating from like their club, I started coaching there. And I did that for about a year. I did U8s and U10s, where I also ended up doing goalkeeping coaching as well. And then that kind of moved into me continuing to coach with Spindles, and then I coached with Latham Circle Soccer Club as well, and I coached the U12 boys as well, and moving into some goalie stuff as well. And I've always privately instructed goalkeepers. That's been
Okay.
something I've done for a variety of years. You know, I am a younger coach, but I am pretty active in the coaching realm. And I at the school, I'm a physical education teacher and athletic director at St. Gregory's. I coach the co-ed boys and girls upper school soccer team as well. So that's what I've recently been coaching.
Wow, you've been coaching a lot then.
Yeah,
For a young coach, you coach a lot.
it's soccer all the time. Soccer every single weekend or every single day of the week. It's on my mind.
Do you ever feel burned out by it?
I think it's always how you look about it, because I think at the end of the day, if I'm spending my time on something, it's probably going to be something that I enjoy. And if I am going to be putting my time into something, sports, it's my life. You know, as a phys ed teacher, I'm teaching sports, teaching different types of sports all day. And then if I am going to coach, and you know, everybody has those days where you're like, you know, you're tired. You're clocking in, you're clocking out, but at the end of the day, you know, not only am I getting a paycheck to do what I love, I'm doing what I love, you know, and as everybody says, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. And it's so
Right.
true. And this is my first year as a physical education teacher. And I just love it every single day. I'm never going in, dang, I gotta go to work today. You know, I've had
Yeah.
those jobs in the past, like, you know, that you just like, you don't want to go in. And this is a job that I'm just so happy about. And every time I go to soccer, you know, whether I'm getting paid to coach the team or not, I'm doing the sport I love, and I'm also introducing it to somebody else or improving somebody else's ability and helping
Okay.
sport as well.
You do a physical education, right? Is
Yep.
that for like middle school or high school?
So I work at a private school. It's
Okay.
pre-K three all the way up to eighth grade, so it's elementary and middle school.
Oh,
So
okay.
a pretty big range. So I get to teach a lot of the younger kids, and then I do have older age groups as well. So it's a good balance.
What's the funniest experience you've had so far? You know, because kids sometimes say the darnest thing. So is there anything?
Yeah, I mean, my students are just so funny. I think I'll talk about a soccer story really quick,
Mhm.
because um we're 3-0 right now. We've played 3 games so far in our season. We're doing pretty
Okay.
good. And the boys are some of the boys are just massive celebrators. They have the
Okay.
corniest celebrations. I think we're up 3-0 against the team, and this one kid runs to the corner and grabs the corner flag and starts playing it like a guitar. I'm sitting there, I subbed him out, and I couldn't be mad at him because it was so funny. I'd be celebrating, and that was probably the funniest thing that's happened so far. Just
Okay.
loving the game, but it was the worst celebration ever too. So it's no fun.
So like we mentioned before, you know, you're a big Chelsea fan.
Yeah.
How has watching top tier soccer influenced your coaching style and the way you approach the game?
Yeah, so I kind of got into soccer really early, but I didn't watch a whole lot of soccer until I got a little bit older.
Okay.
And I think that is what helped me start to develop as an athlete, because I think before I played travel soccer, because that didn't start until I was older, I kind of had an unorthodox route into soccer. Nobody in my family, like besides my older brother, ever played soccer. You know, I don't come from a family. It was a family that played football, American football, or
Okay.
sports like that. So, you know, we weren't really introduced into watching sports. And basically, as I got older and the people I surrounded myself with were big soccer fans, I started watching and I saw the game in a whole different light. It wasn't me.
Okay.
Wasn't me just watching maybe my older brother play, and obviously when you're in eighth grade, it's low quality soccer. You know, you don't really idolize anybody. And then going into kind of when I started watching football, watching Messi play, watching Ronaldo play, and how amazing those two were, it really kind of made me love the sport more.
Okay.
I think that over time, you pick your club, you stick by your club. So I picked Chelsea. And I liked watching Americans play, so I'd watch Newcastle and all those different sport. Andre Yedlin in 26. So I just I obsessed over the national team, and but I picked Chelsea, and it just changed my mindset on how the sports played because of such a high quality level. So basically, that changed my mind, and I watched it. And now every single weekend, I watch football. I watch it every single weekend. If I don't miss really any Chelsea games unless I'm coaching. I haven't missed an international men's soccer game in like 5 or 6 years. I'm just watching. I'm an avid fan.
Wow.
If I by some reason am missing it, I record it somehow. You know, I just I think a lot of coaches try to mimic what Pep Guardiola is doing right now. How
Okay.
he plays, and I think that the world is shifting on how we play. But of course, I love watching how City plays and all that. But I think watching high level people play and how they construct and how they develop talent it can rub off on you.
Okay.
And how I kind of coach is obviously going to be based off of these higher level coaches. I coach my adult team, it requires a high level of tactical prowess, I believe. So that kind of has rubbed off into my philosophies. I kind of like to nitpick. I think that if you're not, so-called stealing ideas, you're not learning and growing. So, Pep Guardiola didn't invent how he plays. He took
Yeah.
stuff what he learned, from the coaches that he had been taught by and the coaches and the systems that he was in, and he made it into his own. And he took a million different things from different people, and he's so successful because he adapts to modern football, and that's what I try to do. I try to take everything from all the greats and all the experience I've had and mesh it into your own coaching philosophy, my own coaching philosophy.
Okay. So a couple questions I have here. First one is, you brought it up. Messi or Ronaldo, who do you think is the greatest of all time?
Yeah, so it's tough because I'm gonna say I'm a massive Chris fan. I just love Cristiano.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I always was a massive Ronaldo fan. So I gotta stick by that. However, it's kind of hard to debate when Lionel Messi. He's just great. I just
Mhm.
Ronaldo was one of those guys that I watched at an early age, and I feel like you pick one early. You
Okay.
when
Yeah.
you're when I was watching Lionel and Ronaldo, they were at their peak. You know,
Mhm.
12 all the way up to nowadays, it's so hard. I feel like once you pick a guy, you can't change it. So I will say 90% of the people I'm surrounded by will say Lionel Messi, and he's not a bad answer by any means. If it's not Ronaldo, Ronaldo too. So that's what I would say.
Okay. Have you got the chance to see Messi play here in the United States now that he's here?
Unfortunately, I haven't. I've been able to go to a couple of professional soccer games, but something that I definitely want to do is go and see more. Obviously, I'm able to watch a lot on live streams, stuff like that. Been to Red Bull games, those kind of things, but
Mhm.
definitely got to get to a game where he's playing because he's here. So
Oh, of course, yeah. And the way he plays, even he's still a little bit slower, but he's still so phenomenal, so amazing.
but he's such an intelligent player, and that's like I was saying earlier. It's IQ is so important, and he just is exceeds above all.
No, I agree completely with you there. What impact do you think he's having on the soccer here in the United States? A big superstar of that caliber coming
Yeah,
to the United States.
the biggest thing is eyes on the game. So
Okay.
I think is the biggest piece, and also it kind of him being here brings a lot of different cultures together because America is the melting pot. We have all these different types of ethnicities and cultures, and that's what makes us so great. I believe. I think the eyes and connecting the different cultures from sports is big for us, and having somebody of his caliber coming to America to play attracts other people into the league, attracts more sponsors, attracts more money given to the sport. And I think that soccer in a sizable amount of time, maybe the 10-year window will be one of the biggest sports in America. It's hard because we compete with so many of our great sports here. We just have the best leagues in the world. It's hard to soccer's been on a back burner, but I think most of my players that I've coached at the younger level, they're either wearing a Messi or Ronaldo jersey.
Yeah.
Wearing the star Ronaldo jersey right now, or they're wearing their Miami Messi jersey, and
Yeah.
it's you know every kid's either got the Messi jersey or they're doing the Sioux celebration. So
Yeah.
I think just the eyes are so important, and it's attracting a lot of younger athletes to go into the sport because we have somebody so great.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Same where I coach, the club that I coach in, our kids, same thing, they wear the Messi jersey. Are they doing the Cristiano Ronaldo celebration? So it's
Yeah,
having a lot of influence. Do you think, because soccer here in the United States is already expensive,
yeah.
do you think that it's gonna raise the prices?
I think that theoretically it could lower in the long run. Uh,
Okay.
I'm so against the pay for play system in America, and I advocate for not only promotion relegation to lower those kind of things, but I think that we set ourselves back by charging so much. Unfortunately, we live in a country where we want to make money out of everything, and I don't necessarily see youth sports as a place to be. That should be something that we shy away from. I feel like a lot of the really good soccer players in America don't get seen because they just simply don't have the money for it. So I
Okay.
think bringing more eyes, bringing more players requires more teams, which can be more expensive, but having more players per team can lower costs. So I
Okay.
think bringing the eyes to the players and more players to play, it can make the pay go higher, but it also can make it lower depending on how many people come into the sport.
So like you said, it's gonna bring more eyes and get more eyes for the players, right? Is that one of the reasons you created your own team, Spindles
Yeah.
United?
Yeah, so I'll give you kind of like the whole origin story of it.
Hmm.
So my freshman fall year in 2021 was going through a lot of stuff, just family stuff, and again, like how my ego was in the fall, obviously not having the best experience. I basically took a hiatus from the team for a few weeks, and in those few weeks, I felt lost. Like I didn't have the sport anymore that I loved. I didn't have a team anymore because actually in my freshman fall year, our coach had been relieved of his duties and resigned from the team, the coach that recruited me there, and we
Oh, okay.
told we were going to have a new coach. And when you get a new coach, you don't really know what your place is going to be, especially if I took a break from the team. So not knowing what I was going to be doing, if I was going to have my soccer outlet, because I had played in every single game I ever played in, and then going to my freshman year when I didn't really play, it took a toll on me. And basically, talking with two of my best friends, Jaron Frangi and Jed Eslamani, I talked with Jed about how hard it was for me to not have a team. And I figured that there was more people like me that didn't even get the chance to play college, or that maybe did, but they haven't played in a few years. So I was like, there is going to be a niche in my area where there's going to be people that need a team, and that is a good environment. So me and Jed talked about it, and basically Jaron, he's one that does a lot of our social media, does all of our social media. He basically was able to kind of make what I thought of to come to life. And so basically Spindle started in 2021. Our first season was in 2022. It was with a lot of my high school friends, people that I met or close friends. And then as we've grown, as we've developed and gotten different types of players, collegiate players, semi-professional players, etc., we were able to create an environment for players to come compete for 4 or 5 months out of the year, practices, games, tournaments, etc. So we wanted to give people that outlet that I didn't have at one point, and I wanted to give to others.
Okay. What you were talking about earlier, giving the eyes, some of the eyes to the players, right?
Yeah.
So are you guys, what is it, like semi-professional? Because you're not UPSL, right?
Correct. So we consider ourselves an amateur team. The full name is Spindles United Football Club, based in New York. We play in the CDSL, which is the Capital District Soccer League, which is recognized on the American pyramid, but it's like, all the way at the bottom. Not
Okay.
really have a traditional a pyramid in the Americas in America, but we're in an amateur league. But what we do is we treat our players like professional players.
Okay.
They get training gear. They have the practices, and we're in a league that is trying to be progressive, but we definitely push the boundaries. We have definitely we take everything very organized, and we see our social media, we push for it to be as professional looking as possible. And basically, bringing the eyes to the area can show that we can make something even better out of it. That's what we try to do. We're our club motto is a club, a team for the community, a club for the community. So we based our team name out of the hometown of Cohoes, which is where I'm from, and it was called the Spindle City. It was the biggest textile manufacturer back in the 1800s. It's like what put Cohoes on the map, and so what better than to name the team Spindles United? So that's kind of what we try to do.
So are you planning to go like higher up, or just stay in amateur level?
The long-term goal is, of course, to progress. As you know, to be in these ranks, it requires money.
Mhm.
It requires a lot of work. It requires a lot of different factors, and that's the goal. Our goal is, it never was a one-year plan. It's something that we want to be generational. So we put a lot of time in, me, Jen, and Jaron, to make it what it is. I mean, we have a lot of volunteers and a lot of people that have helped it to help it grow. But yeah, we want to get to those ranks. We'd love to be in the NISA, the UPSL, or NPSL, the point where we can progress. But we're just taking it one step at a time, and if we can just impact one person, it's good enough for us. So we're taking it by year, and as long as we are growing, we're going.
I seen the website. It looks professionally done. The whole structure looks like it's a professional club. Like,
Yes.
unless you tell me it's an amateur club, it looks like a professional club. Like,
Yeah.
you guys know what you guys are doing.
Yeah, you can see I have my shirt on right here today. So it's been
Oh, okay, yeah.
essentially it was a passion project that we started. I mean, I essentially started the club at 19 years old with two of my best friends again, who,
Mhm.
one was younger. So it's an untraditional path and
Okay.
a traditional person. So why wouldn't you start a club at 18? Why wouldn't you do that?
Right. Yeah.
We always have people that say they want to do something, but our group we are going to do it. And we're going to show you what you can do. And that's kind of what we've been trying to do. And, it's slow, steady progress, but we're getting there.
Okay. I seen one of your posts on LinkedIn. Essentially, you were talking about one of the games, right? Yeah, I set up a 4-5-5
Five.
5-3-2, I think it was.
So it was I transitioned our formation to a 5-4-1 in the back half.
Take me through that game, because I know you had one way of how you had the games, how you were gonna play the game. You had everything in mind.
Yeah.
You got a red card through the
Yeah.
game. Can you walk me through that process? That process that I know you ended up losing,
Yeah.
but that process, that you had a little bit of setback. How'd you overcome that?
Yeah, so it was I mean, football, you love it and you hate it at times. So we went into this game very confident. We'd beaten this team before throughout the season, and it was a semifinal that we were playing in. And we walked into the game with the 5-4-1 formation in mind. We'd practiced and training it, been using it in the back half of the season. It basically allowed us to be kind of extremely hard to get to be scored on from in behind, with having five in the back, three really strong central defenders took out the nine in every single game. The outside backs allowed us to push forward with proceeding with caution, because we could send one forward and still have a four back. So it was a constantly rotating system that we had gotten down. In the first 10 minutes, we got a red card. It's so unfortunate. The ball was put across, and basically our defender tried to clear it off the line and hit it with his hand. It was just an unfortunate situation, but it happened 10 minutes game, and 10 minutes means there's 80 minutes left in the game.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's, what am I going to do now? And you have to think about it on the fly as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, what I wanted to do was try to keep our defensive shape the same. So I had pondered a couple different things, and I ultimately changed the 5-4-1. After we lost a guy, I moved it to a 5-3-1. So essentially, we lost our outside mids, we lost our left mid and right mid, and played three centrally while keeping the striker out there. So I wanted to keep the defensive shape. I believed in our midfield skill, and I believed that our nine was going to have at least one chance, and he would bury it. That was the hope going into the rest of the half. And basically, they did miss the penalty kick at that point. So even at the red card, they missed a pen, which was great for us. It was still 0-0. But before the end of the first half, they had gotten a goal, and we went into the half, I think, trailing down 1-0. And looking around, not one player lost belief. It was obviously an uphill battle, but I had to calm them down at halftime. Said, this is what we're going to roll with. I talked with some of the players, and I said, do you guys feel confident in the 5-3-1? It definitely, we were losing the the mid third of the game, we weren't connecting as many passes because those middle three were working, but we didn't have the outlets that the outside mids were giving us.
Okay.
So we were struggling to maintain possession, but we still were. I would say we probably still maintain around 53% of possession that first half going down a guy, which was a positive to go and talk about in the half. After the half, I didn't want to change anything. I felt like the Fire 3-1 was still solid. They weren't getting in behind us. The goal that they had scored, it really was, it was poor position and, individual mistake, etc. Like it happens, you take it on the chin and move on. They ended up scoring shortly after the second half, going down 2-0. That was tough. You go down 2-0 and you're like, all right, what is this team made of? And again, that's when I was thinking that, we need to change something. Again, we're allowed to have unlimited substitutions in our league. So changing guys, giving different guys opportunities throughout the game, not having one guy because you have a red card that erases 90 minutes from your players. So moving from our outside mids, a lot of our outside mids were very skilled in the ball. And since we only had 3 centrally, that means they were eliminated from the game. So it was tough. However, in the 60th minute, what I had thought was going to happen finally happened. R9, his name's Luke Gates. He's great at hold-up play. We got the ball to him, and he was able to play a beautiful through ball in, and we got a goal back. So it was 2-1. There was belief, and all of a sudden we were possessing. We were getting chances off. It felt like we were knocking at the door, and so that's why the formation stayed the same, because it felt like if you kept trying to change your tactics, you're taking away the belief in the players. And if you believe in the players, they will find the outcome. So me sticking to the 5-3-1, the basis of my philosophy of the 5-4-1, I felt like was going to give us the best edge at that point. And unfortunately, we just couldn't find another goal. We had the chances, we just didn't bury them. But, in that post that you had talked about, I'd pondered a million different things. Do I go to a 4-back so we were more balanced? Do I get rid of the striker? Because even though the striker had a great play, was it more important to have positional value elsewhere? Hindsight, is a great thing. You can ponder what you could have done, but you can't change it. And if I could have changed certain things, I definitely would, but you can't. So you learn, you grow from it.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have that victory, and sometimes you just come out on the wrong side of the game.
Had you been in this team before, or did you lose? Because I know you mentioned you played them before.
Yeah, so we've been in this league for this was our 3rd season this year, and last year we actually were we didn't beat them in the regular season, and we were in the finals against them. We didn't beat them. It was a very similar story. And then this year, we actually had our first regular season victory against them. Probably one of our highlights because it was a team that, they were a very, very solid team, an older group, but they played with each other for a very long time. Talented, all former collegiate players or some professional players. They were good. And we finally got them. We beat them during the regular season. So that's why we were so confident going into the game, played confident throughout the game because we knew that we could beat them. And I figured that if we did have 11, I definitely had the utmost belief that we could have defeated them.
I know in that post you said you play defensively, right? Again, it goes back to the question before. Is it because of Chelsea? Because Chelsea plays usually a defensive style. With Jose Mourinho when he was there. Was that your coaching based on from Chelsea, or just because that team was a little bit stronger? Or
so it's kind of funny because a lot of my original philosophy is based on Pep Guardiola, as most people are. So I would run the 4-3-3. The 4-3-3 is one of my preferred formations, and I kind of we played it pretty much all throughout last year, and then this year we just if you can't play to the level or to have the quality that you need in that formation, it makes certain players positionally out of the game. So I knew we needed a shift. And you could say I pulled from Jose, you could say I pulled from a variety of different coaches. I just figured that based on who we had as players, it just benefited us the most. And so, again, I like to pick certain things from different players. Jose, how he does counterattacking. We were much better when we moved to a defensive formation because we were so formidable in defense that since we couldn't go down, it exhausted the opponent. So we would one of my biggest philosophy is, slow going forward, at times when you have possession, you find the right pass, the simple things, but if you lose the ball, you're relentless. So not only were we relentless in repressing, if my striker lost the ball, it was in our belief that he should go win it back, even if he's got to run all the way back to the defensive third because he just wants it so bad. So setting out our philosophy in the beginning of the season was something that was important for me, but I had to be adaptable and I had to be able to change my philosophy and my formation based on the players that I had. So
Okay.
something from certain players, but then also from certain coaches, but then also just changed on the fly as well.
So I know you said Pep Guardiola is one of your biggest coaches, right?
Yeah.
I was reading the other day on an article where it says Pep Guardiola is killing the game in a little bit because he likes to control almost every aspect of how the player wants, that creativity. Do you believe that's true or not
So
really?
I read the article as well, hearing it from Tim Howard. I think it's true and incorrect at times. It's an opinion. I think that nobody has to do what he does. No one chooses to put the four. You choose to do the 4-3 if you want to do. You choose to
Mhm.
tactics if you want to. He's found a way to be successful, and every manager has the ability to get the best out of their players. Now, is he blessed to have some of the best players in the world and the transfer budget for it, etc.? Yes. But I think that I follow a motto of the acronym FACE. So it's something that I like to implement into my teams. It's freedom, accountability, creativity, and execution. You face everything with the team. So in my philosophy, it's important that the players play freely. A striker doesn't have to stick there as a whole time as a holding nine. He can shift into the left side or the right side of the field. Our center mids can drift back and sit in between our center backs. Our outside backs can be freedom. But you do have to have a overall general tactic base. And I think
Yeah.
what does so well is that he knows how to get the best out of his players, and he plays chess,
Mhm.
while some other coaches are playing checkers. But again, that's the intelligence part that we talk about in the psychological part. It all ties in, even as a player, as a coach. How can you get the most out? Some people think that coaches are just there and all you really do is substitute, but it's all in preparation. Yeah, he does have a massive impact on how players play and where they should be and sitting. But the reality of what he's doing is just setting his players up for success. He's putting them in positions to be successful, but the players still have to do the job. I mean,
Yeah.
Pep Guardiola could take over a U12 B team of boys and he could put them out there and hope that they do what he wants, but it's on the players to enact the tactics. It's on the players to choose to want to do it. He could put Holland out there. We know Holland's amazing, but Holland still has the one to pull in the net. So he sets his players up. He's strict and he's tight on his players and wants certain things out of them. But I think he's successful, and I can't hate on that, even though I'm a
Oh.
Chelsea.
Would you like to see him in Chelsea?
I mean, yeah, I think that'd be any team. I think,
Mhm.
I think you would take him. But I love Maresca. I think that he's a very smart coach. People call him inexperienced, but you don't get experience. You don't get out of being inexperienced by not getting experience.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty solid at Leicester City, and he got an opportunity here. He's got a lot of Pep Guardiola's tactics in his mind from working with him so closely. So does Arteta. But you see how great Arteta did, and he's so
Mhm.
successful with you guys. And I think giving Reska a chance, he's been solid. I'm not a fan of sacking managers. I don't believe in that until it's a certain point. I think you need a substantial amount of size to be able to say this coach is not the right fit. Maresca, he's here. He's been making the most out of his guys. For the Chelsea, we've been successful. We're in the top four right now, and it's a long season. And there's for sure going to be turmoil at some point, and there's going to be challenges. But I think trying not to pass too many judgments on him before we see certain things, because again, it's on the players. It's always on the players, and it's always on the mindsets. At the end of the day, you can always send your players out there, but can they execute?
How do you bounce back though? How do you bring it back up though?
Yeah, so I think from personal experience,
Mhm.
being a younger coach, I coach adults right now, so I think that the biggest the the best thing you can do is be transparent and honest with your players. That helps avoid a lot of problems. If a player wants to know why he's not playing or why a player or how a player knows he can get better, etc. you got to be transparent. You got to be honest about things. You got to be honest about roles. And I think what you need to do is know that you're going to make mistakes as a coach. You're going to make mistakes as a player. And I think that problems are not avoidable. They're going, somebody's going to be upset in this season. And it's about not only picking your battles, so finding how to word things to certain people, but also about have a relationship. The most important thing in coaching is relationships.
Okay.
What coach to player dynamic? How do you handle issues? How do you bounce back from things? So I think you're going to run into issues, and how do you respond to them? I think that as a coach, you got to be okay with saying sorry if you did something wrong, if you weren't transparent enough, you weren't honest enough, or you said something rude, etc. Being there for players more than just on the pitch, checking in,
Yeah.
talking to them, especially if it is a player where you've had some turmoil with, making sure that the relationship is there to bounce back, because you're going to have those players that just don't fit in. You're going to have those players that don't buy in for whatever reason, or they like the coach before you, etc., or they don't respect you for whatever reason. And then you're going to have the players that do love you. And I think it's about having the mindset of you can't please everybody, but you
Yeah.
do the boat moving. You don't want it to sink, because if you got to have strong moral values. You have to know if what you're preaching is right, and I think as a coach you got to be two steps ahead. So trying to prevent the problems, but then also having those relationships with your players to have
Okay.
trust. If you don't have trust, you have nothing. That's with anything in life. So I think having trust with you amongst your players is important to bounce back from any issues.
Is that how because you mentioned it, you're a coach. Is that how you get your adult players to follow you? Because many times, as a young kid, okay, they're still learning, so it's easier for you to manage them. As an adult, many times you come in and you're like, no, I already know how to do this. Is that how you manage them to follow you?
Yeah, so I think what's almost helped me a lot as a coach is coaching the younger kids and having that separation age, because I know how to talk to the younger kids and they kind of respect you because they think, because you're older.
Yeah.
And with my older team, something that's helped me is relating to the players, acknowledging the situation, but being, what can I do to earn their trust and earn their respect as not only a peer, but as a coach.
Okay.
Make coach to player dynamic. And that's like the biggest thing for the for my older team. It's so important to, lay out your expectations, lay out your rules, your discipline, your values, and sticking to it. So if this player doesn't show up to practice, this player can't play, etc. You have to stick to those things, or be able to have reasoning behind things. Because, as a young coach and as a coach with Spindles, I've definitely run into, not necessarily problems, but I've definitely run into, interactions that are pleasant and that aren't pleasant, so it's part of the process. And having a lot of peers my age, having connections with these players. I mean, some players I had been playing on certain teams with before, it's making sure that you're transparent with them. That's something I've had to learn to do. And, unfortunately, it doesn't always lead to everybody being happy with you. You have to be okay with that as a coach. You can't make everybody happy all the time. If you could, you'd be the best coach of all time. But you cannot coach and then please all of his players on his teams or her players on the team. So that's what I try to do. Be transparent,
Okay.
be able to explain with reason, and build the connections that I have with my players, develop those relationships, I think can help me earn respect.
You try to build relationship with all your players, even like the younger kids?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. A big thing for younger kids is having that off the field relationship as well. Like, checking in on them. Like for like my younger kids, I always ask them how school is doing. If they had outside of soccer, just knowing that they can trust you, because then they can come to you. And if something is going on with them, they know they can trust you. And
Okay.
it also means that they can understand when you are trying to coach them, or if you have to be serious in a moment, that they know that since they were able to come to you, now they can listen and understand.
Okay. So I know you mentioned transparency, trust, respect. Do you think these are the main qualities a coach should possess to be a while guiding young athletes?
Yes, being transparent, being able to communicate, being able to understand and be empathetic is probably another big one.
Okay.
Empathy is probably one of my biggest things, because I didn't always have the coaches that would understand what's going on outside of the sport. because as a coach, you get tunnel vision. You want this out of your athletes. You want your athletes to succeed. You want your players to score the goals. But sometimes you don't think about the other side of the game where like maybe John's not scoring today because of something's going on at home, or maybe whoever else is struggling because in college he's handling, he's taking care of his mom, or he's got bad grades in school, or he's working full time. And like being able to understand people's situations, I think is a big thing. Being able to understand what players are going through, understand maybe why a player is not playing is good, realizing that not only are these number 7, number 10, and number 11, they're 3 individuals that have life outside the sport, because sports are awesome, but
Yeah.
people last longer than sports.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. Do you have relationship with the parents as well? I know now, probably not with the older players, right? But with the younger players, you try to build that relationship with the parents as well?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you're coaching their life. When you have these parents that have these kids that play, not only in America are you spending so much money on them, so they do want to see growth. It's a contact sport. Kids are going to get hurt. Kids are going to do this and that. But developing those relationships builds trust. And building trust for me is a big part of who I want to be. They're a very respectful person. I respect that they're entrusting their child or their athlete into my care. Because
Okay.
you're carrying them as a coach, but as their players. So I think it's important to develop those relationships as well, so they know they can trust you, and then they can kind of just separate from you, and then you can coach.
How would you build those relationships? Because many times, they come drop their kids off and they leave, So how would you build that relationship?
Yeah, so a good example is like this past year, I was coaching with the local soccer club, Latham Circle Soccer Club here in New York. Parents would stick by the first couple practices because they just want to see, what they're paying for, watch their kids. And I think that when I noticed that they saw how much effort I would put in and how much organized I was, they were able to wean off and kind of just go drop the kids off and do their own thing. At tournaments, you're there for all day.
Yeah.
You go parents, talk to the parents. They want to know who you are. You talk to them. You talk about the little things. They see what you're doing with their kids. You're going to events that their kids are going to. The amount of different little school events I've gone to just because it would mean the world to John or whoever else. It's important to them. So knowing that you're not only there to, of course, some places you get paid to coach. You're not only there for the paycheck. You're there because you like doing it and you like, being there for their children. So that's kind of like what I try to do. Go the extra mile points. Of course, it can be taxing. It could be, all these different events you're going to or whatever. But it is worth it. I believe so.
Okay. Think back on your journey, right? You're coaching and coaching. What has been the most rewarding experience you've experienced?
So I think I have a couple different, experience. Obviously, being able to have my own club, and what we did this year, we actually were able to host our first ever home match. So we play in a league that is all centrally located in one location.
Okay.
And it's a place like 25 minutes away from our hometown. We practice, we play in goes, but we play in this place called Guilderland, and so we never really have home matches. So this year, what we wanted to do is we wanted to have a game in goes. We wanted to show what we were all about. Our hometown team grew up playing, and so we decided to create an event called the Grassroots Cup. So we believe that we are the best amateur team in America. We believe that with the way we carry ourselves, we just are so far ahead of the amateur level teams. And so we are the grassroots level. And we are a grassroots football team. So basically, one of the other teams that we had in the league, we invited to do a friendly exhibition game. And we typically average like 50 to 75 people at our games. At our final last year, we had 160 people.
Wow.
This averaging around 100, but then in the Grassroots Cup, we had around 400 people spectate our game. We brought in food trucks, we brought in games, we brought in tons of volunteers. We did a walkout, the national anthem. You could probably see it on our page, Grassroots Cup. It was the most rewarding experience because not only was I coaching the game, I was able to see my vision come to fruition almost, with the help of Jaron. We finally got to see the team that we made in a room be put on hundreds of people enjoying what we created. So that's probably the most rewarding experience as a
Okay.
whole. And then obviously the wins, they're nice, but I think just the relationships and the friendships, the bonds I've created with players is
Right.
probably the thing that's rewarding as well.
100 people for an amateur team. That's quite a bit. People, you guys are impressive.
Yeah, we're growing. We a lot of times it's family members, but we have been building a following, year after year. Again, thanks to Jaron because he makes us look so good online.
Mhm.
It's it helps driving us. Social media is so important to connect to people nowadays. So basically, we what we used to say in the first year was fake it till you make it. Not
Okay.
only not that we're being fake, but it's just let's show everybody that we look like a professional club. Let's go to every event that we ever do and act like a professional club because we are a professional club in our eyes. We're
Okay.
there's like professionals. We're going to treat companies, our sponsors, etc., all professionally because we do have sponsors. We have tons of different sponsors that do help us be the way we are. So yeah, I mean, yeah, the grassroots cup was awesome. Having over like 400 people at the game.
Wow.
The field we had, they didn't have stands, so people brought lunch, and we literally had like 4 or 5 rows of
Wow.
lawn chairs, and it was a lot of work and a lot of effort put on by the Spindles team, but it was amazing. Yeah, I could talk all day about it.
Do you guys get a chance to play on the Lamar Open Cup? Do you guys do that?
So
No.
that's one of our long-term goals.
Okay.
Obviously, playing in those cups are a massive part of our long-term goals. Again, that's like being at the amateur level, you only have access to so many different things, so obviously being part of the Open Cup, you have to play in, we don't necessarily play in an area that has a lot of teams surrounded by us. So I'm in upstate New York. I don't know if you've ever been there, but I'm kind of in the middle of New York. So the city's all the way down here, and then like
Okay.
Buffalo here. I'm like right here. We don't necessarily like the UPSL and PSL teams that are by us. They travel away for games. No game for them is within an hour radius. They're
Oh.
traveling 3 or 4 hours away for games. So we live in an area that is not highly densely populated with soccer teams. It's not like the city where you have hundreds of teams in New York City or you're not in Philadelphia where it's so invested. We're kind of an area that has a lot of potential, but one of our long-term goals is to go into those national Lamar Open. It'd be awesome. It's just one of those things that it'll take time, but we're here for the long haul.
Yeah, it sounds great. Like I said, I've seen your website. It looks professional, like it's a professional club.
Yeah.
That's incredible what you guys are doing for your players. With the World Cup being here in 2026, do you think that's gonna again change the landscape of the soccer here in America?
Yes, I think that the Copa was already something so big, but just having so many people come to our country, not only just to watch soccer, but to have it in America and hopefully have a national team that does well. I think that's a big key that can really help us. If the national team does well, I think it'll bring so many more eyes because soccer is the biggest sport in the world. Reason the biggest country in the world doesn't have soccer as its number one. And I think that it's something with time it will be one
Okay.
of the things. It's just one of those things that soccer in America has already progressed so much in the last 10 years, 20 years that you think that having the Copa, having the World Cup, having a successful national team, eventually it'll add up to success in America for soccer. I feel like it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, and they're doing the Club World Cup next year
Yep.
here in America as well, and they're gonna have I think like 30 something teams or 20 something teams. It's gonna be a pretty big one.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. That's it's something great that we're blessed to have, and I'm definitely look forward to. Definitely want to go to some games.
How far do you think the men's national team's gonna go at the 2026 World Cup?
Realistically, probably a round of 16.
Okay.
I would like to. I would like to push farther than that. I just want to get out of the group stage. That's what's important to me. I think that with Pochettino, with the guys that we have, I one of my best friends is his name's Jed, one of the Spindles guys. He's from Morocco. If we can mimic how Morocco played and have the grit and have the desire, I think that we very much could be a threat. But I'm also not going to be the too narcissistic about what we've done in the past. And realistically, we've been a round of 16 team. But you always want to shoot higher. You want to
Right.
say win the World Cup in 2026 on home soil. Pulisic run to the corner after scoring a game winner or something like that. But I didn't eat, and that will make me happy. It should give America a reason to turn on their TVs, not only for other countries but for their own country. And I think it could bring a lot of immense pride for the sport in this country.
Right. So, like you said, the dream is for the United States to win the World Cup here in American soil.
Of course.
If they were to win, how would you celebrate the World Cup win?
It just would be endless days of just partying. I think I don't know. I definitely would spend a ludicrous amount of money to be at that World Cup final if I could,
Oh,
or
wow. Okay.
at least be at a watch party where there's a bunch of people watching. If that's were somehow happen, that's that's the dream. But I'm happy with around a 16 win or something like that. Leading.
How about Mexico? I have to ask for myself. How about Mexico? How far do you see them going?
So I think Mexico has been, for so long, it's USA or Mexico, who's better?
Mhm.
And for a lot of period of time, I felt like Mexico had the edge for a very long time. And I think what they're going through is something very similar to what we went through when we missed the last World Cup. Kind of, we relied on older guys for a variety of time, and we didn't necessarily have the manager that was getting the best out of them. Even though I like Klinsmann, but then once we moved to Arena, we kind of struggled because we kind of didn't want to develop our youth. It's so important to develop your youth. So I think Mexico, they have so many great talents, and I think that they just were in a reset the past year or so because they do still have success in world competitions. They're always a gritty team. They're always like a team that you just I was as a fan, I can always say Sarah, but they're always our toughest opponent for some reason. Just always. They're always in every game. One of my favorite goalkeepers ever is Ochoa. The world
Okay.
he's had in his lifetime are amazing. I think that they're another team that they are going to put a strong battle in the group stage, and the teams like America, Morocco, Mexico, etc., can always put down a team if they are out there with their best foot forward.
United States missed what was it, 2018 World Cup? Do you think that helped the development of young players here in America?
Yeah, I think as we've gotten dual nationals has been a big part of our national team success.
Mhm.
How we're able to swap so many team players, even if they weren't originally born in America or where they have ties. Every other country in the world does that. And you look at France, where you look at the teams, they just have so many dual nationals. You look at Yamal, who's amazing. He was born in Morocco, grew up, and then moved to Spain, etc. You know, that's what the best countries are doing. They're flipping dual nationals. And so I think part of that is a reason for our success and will be for our future success. But I think the development of youth sports, especially soccer, has increased over the last 10 years. And we're finally seeing the effects because it's a long process. You change one thing in the youth soccer system, you're not going to see it for a few years, see progression. Like change takes time, progressiveness takes time. It takes a minute to fix things and to develop things. And I think that that haven't necessarily always had the talent of the world stages, but the change in 2018, the change after that World Cup, not getting there, it really set a fire under us. And you see now just some of our players that are finally sticking out on a world stage.
Yeah, no, Christian Pulisic is doing real good in AC Milan.
Yeah. Yeah, like I was telling you before, he's one of my favorite players. And obviously, being a Chelsea fan, it was heartbreaking to see him go. But I'm a fan of the game. I try to watch every a national team player I can. McKennie at Juventus, all the way at Juventus, all the other players that are playing at the top-notch level. But Pulisic is someone that I've always followed because of where he started, in the middle of Pennsylvania. He took that leap of going into across the seas. And I think that his story really inspired a lot of young Americans to push the boundaries. That's why one of the reasons why I think he's one of the best American soccer players, if not the best American soccer player, because he pushes the boundaries and it's not comfortable.
Yeah.
He still wants to compete because he very well could have, burnt out at Chelsea and gone to the MLS or, not on the MLS, but he wants to push the envelope, and I think he's shown why he's probably the best, one of the best wingers in Serie A. And I think that if he continues at his progression, it can be considered world class.
Yeah, I think he's world class. In my opinion, he's world class. What he's doing in AC Milan, what he did in Dortmund,
Yeah.
he was phenomenal.
Yeah.
What change would you like to see though here in the American youth system?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is the pay to play. I've written articles about it. It's just so expensive. I mean, you go to all these other countries, you say Brazil, for example, you got kids playing on every street. It's the only game but they play with, minimum. They don't care. They show up. They got pennies, no pennies. They play without a soccer ball, whatever. In America, I feel like we're so spoiled with the fact of the level of sports that we have and how much and how which we are compared to other places in the world that
Yeah.
we forget about what we were based on, how we all are from different cultures, etc. And I think that the pay to play, if we could somehow, lower the costs, open up more fields, a big thing that we do in America is we don't allow people to practice at turf fields. They're closed off. They're private facilities.
Mhm.
Go to England, every other turn you see an open soccer field. So I think opening up and giving more opportunities for people is a big thing. Lowering cost if we can, because I think the youth sports shouldn't be necessarily a profitable market. I understand why it is, but I don't think it's morally correct. I think we should give any kid that wants to have the chance to play.
Yeah.
And I think that starts from us developing a pyramid in America of level of sports, having a promotion relegation system where the best MLS teams can go down to the USL championships, that can go down to the UPSL, NPSL range, having a pyramid like they have everywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
Because what that does, it creates more opportunities for people to be seen. Not only that, it gives more teams the opportunity to be something. It'd be awesome for like Spindles United to be starting out at the UPSL level and all of a sudden be able to get to that level simply because we developed. And not having that promotion relegation limits the development of our youth sports.
Okay. Yeah, no, what you mentioned was about Brazil, right? Kids playing in the streets. That's kind of like pickup soccer. Do you think pickup soccer it's important for the development of kids?
100%, because that's where you find the love for the game. And in my first house in Cahoe, I had a backyard that was probably 5 or 6 feet wide and about
Okay.
12 feet long, very small, and the floor was brick. And that's where I learned to start playing soccer. I mean, my brother, I mean, you just rail a soccer ball at me, so that's where you find the love for the game and in the simplest things, whether in phys ed class playing soccer and on the courts, or, you are playing recreational soccer, or you're just playing with your friends. That's when you find the love for whatever you do when you're young. And I think it is important for us to continue to do that.
Okay. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I don't know if you ever seen that movie Goal,
Yeah.
where
Yep.
wherever he's at the beach, he's like, "You see this? 2 jackets and a ball. That's all you really need."
That's all you need. Again, we're so spoiled with what we have. You start a kid, all my players have the brand new Nike Mercurials. You know what I mean? And I'm just thinking like, all right, but can you do it on the sand? Can you do it in the backyard? I think that was where the best players come from. The ones that have the hunger, that didn't have it. You know.
That's why Brazil is one of the best producing players, I guess.
100%.
What advice would you give someone who's pursuing a career similar to yours?
Yeah, I think for me, I contemplated a lot of different careers throughout my life, and then going into it, I figured out, all right, what do I love to do? What's something that every single day I think about? And every single day I think about sports. I mean, like whether it's soccer or it's basketball, whatever, football, like I'm always thinking about sports. Okay, so what else do I like to do? I've always um liked working with younger kids. I just always have run tons of different camps. I've like coaching. So I think my advice is if you love what you do, again, you never work a day in your life, but the bottom line is just figure out what you like to do. Because if you like to do something, you could probably make a career out of it. So,
Okay.
like cooking, guess what? You can be a chef. You know what I mean? So, if you like photography, you could be a photographer. Even though there's a thousand millions of them, you know, how can you be better than the other person, So I think my advice would be find what you like to do, stick to it, even if it's not something that will make you $1 million. What's the impact that you're going to leave behind?
Right. Yeah, no, and especially now with like social media, YouTube, TikTok, you can put a lot of videos and people will follow you, like, oh, I like the way he's cooking, or the way he's kicking, or the way he's teaching this.
100%.
How would you describe your coaching philosophy and how it has evolved over the years?
Yeah, I think when I first started coaching, I was very much like tunnel vision. I want it to be this way. I want this to work that,
Okay.
and adaptable. My main philosophy again is like based on those four words: freedom, accountability, creativity, and execution. Face, and I kind of have burnt that into my mind in every single team that I coach because even though every team is going to be different, every game is going to be different. So it's so important to be adaptable. It's so important to be able to adjust on the fly. And I think my biggest part of my philosophy, coaching wise, soccer wise, is, relentless pressure, be aggressive, be gritty, do the little things, and the game will open up for you.
Okay.
Formations are really just putting players out spots in the field and hoping they kind of stay in those general positions. So a formation, I won't say I have one that I will always do because I think every game calls for a different thing. Every game calls for a different player sets of abilities. So my biggest philosophy is working hard,
Okay.
putting it all for the badge. For Spindles, we say that a lot. We're not playing for the name on the back, we're playing for the logo on the front. So I
Okay.
think that's something that's important to me is um, being driven, working hard, wanting it for the guy to your right and wanting it to your left. So just work hard. That's a big thing for me.
Okay. What's next for you, Coach Jordan, and the Spindles Soccer Club?
Yeah, so right now we've been working with today was actually our last day of soccer tots, so we coach youth from like 3 to 5 or so.
Okay.
Around a month, 2 times a week. We coach them, bunch of drills. We're coaching their teams and all that stuff like that. I think the next step is how can we improve our men's team? What does our league look like next year? So this would be our fourth season. We want to be progressive. We don't like to be plateauing, so we want to not only improve how we do in the seasons, we also want to improve what we do as a club because we're
Okay.
a community-based team. So again, our motto is Club for the Community. We want to be volunteering for all the events that we can. We want to be there for the community, want to grow the love for our team in the community. So I think that's what we want to do mostly this year is
Okay.
give more events like the Grassroots Cup, do more things like that to really show people that we're not just here just to play soccer. We're here to give back to the community. We're here to grow something that again is generational, and have more people fall in line with our goals. So just finished our soccer tots, developing the team. We're in our off season right now for the adult team. We play like from April to summer. So figuring out what our season's gonna look like, who are gonna be our players. That's gonna be something I do in the next couple months. Who's gonna be a part of that roster?
Okay.
How our games and basically not necessarily start over, but we're getting ready to, put the work in coming up.
Okay. Do you have tryouts, or you have returning players and just add a couple new players here and there, or how do
Yeah,
you
so
go about that?
really the best way to describe it is that, we do sign our players to a 1 year contract. We do that as part of
Okay.
professionals, as part of like our liability and all that stuff with our insurance and stuff like that. But basically, you know, every player has to earn their spot back. It's a big thing for us. Of course, there are going to be players that have been on the team. There's some players on the team that have been on there for 3 years. And always what we do is, we have tryouts. We've had tryouts for the last 2 years. And a lot of the times, the returning players do come back, and that's a sign that they want to be back on the team because don't know if you want to be back on the team unless you tell us, etc. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
a big thing for us is not having a million people turn over every year. It's a big
Yeah.
thing. Building something, and then if you just get rid of everybody, you have to restart. You have to restart the process, and then everything you did last year almost doesn't count because you don't have the same players. So
Right.
big, keeping a really good core, and then also, if you do need to add players, you do add players because there's always going to be somebody out there that just found out about Spindles. that is really good, or there's a recent college grad that moved back to the area, or you're gonna find good athletes all around, or even that maybe didn't have a chance at college. All of a sudden, they were probably a really good player, and now they just found out about us. So
Okay.
we do the tryouts because you don't know what talent is out there. We
Right.
get tons and tons of messages online. We get tons of emails. So we also like to give opportunities to players, even if they say don't make the team, they at least were able to come out and have a tryout experience. So
Okay.
what we like to do is we want as many people involved with their club that we can.
Okay. One of the things I forgot to mention and that I love that you're doing is making it part of the community.
Yeah,
Because as soon as you have that community, feel like ownership on that club, even if they're not, it has more people growing. It makes it grow because people are gonna follow it. I love what you're doing there.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's again, I mean, it was this spindle started when I lost something. When I lost the ability to play at that. I know that more people had that feeling. And with Jaron, with Jed, the other two co-founders, we all had that sort of feeling at some point, and we knew that other people were going to have that. And what other place to start our team than the place that we all grew up in? Coes, New York. Not a lot of people know what that is, but that was our hometown. It was a place that taught us the love for soccer. It was a place that we went to school. It was the place that, why wouldn't you want to give back to the place that made you who you are today? And what we want to do is be that club for the community that gives back, that inspires others to do the same. Because again, the biggest question is why not? Why not do it? Why not make your own team?
Yeah.
Why not do what you want to do every day? Because
Right.
crazy question, why not? Just do.
So pretty much goes back to the beginning, huh?
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's a very cool story. Like I said, I love what you're doing out there. So as you look back to your coaching experience and playing experience as well, your whole experience, your whole journey, what legacy do you hope to leave for your players in your community?
Yeah. So I think as a person, one of my most like irrational fears is not leaving something behind, and so that's a reason why for my drive is like I wanted to leave something. A big part of our one of my morals that I've learned is I want to leave something better than I found it. So I want to leave the city that I grew up in better than I found it. I want to know that whatever team I'm on, whatever team that I'm coaching, whoever I have relationships with, I want to make it better.
Okay.
And my long-term goal is to have something lasting for Coes in the soccer world.
Okay.
It is a generational club. It's passed down. That'd be the most ideal thing. I just think that if I can inspire even one person, if I can even make one person happier, that is all that I need. At this point, I think that what we're doing with Spindles is helping people, and we're we're giving people experiences that they'll always have, especially the players that didn't have a college home to play at, or they haven't played soccer in so long. I think that giving them these experiences now is the legacy that we leave behind because, you only live in the moment, but memories, they last your whole lifetime.
Absolutely. Yep. So do these players have to pay? Because I know you're against the pay to play. Do they pay, or how do you go about that?
So we try to make it as affordable as possible.
Okay.
So I'll put it into perspective. To play on like UPSL, MPSL teams, they're charging $300-400 to be on
Yeah.
these teams of 25 to 30 players, and these are typically teams that have the means to charge less, but they don't. But that's okay because that's them. For us, we want to make everything affordable. We have a monopoly of indoor facilities around us called AFRAMs. And basically, to put it in perspective, to play a six-a-side season, 8 games, you pay around $140
Okay.
for Spindles for 4 to 5 months of your time, 2 practices a week, 10 games, gear, etc. We try to charge way less than that.
Okay.
We really only charge. to make sure that we stay afloat every single season. Because as a club that we're not considered a not for profit, but everything that we put back into the club, you
Mhm.
know, owners, we don't take anything from it because we just believe in building the club.
Right, right.
Even though we do charge, we try to make it extremely affordable. Um, what we are able to give back to the players, I feel like is worth it.
Okay. Yeah, no, like I said, love what you're doing. There's a league out here in Kansas City. They started, it's amateur league as well, adult league. It's recreational, but it's kind of what you're saying, you know. The only thing, like the clubs are not as professional,
Mm,
run like yours, you know. But they have their own badge, their own uniform, and it's got 18 games, I think it is,
mm.
8, 9 home and something like that. But it's still affordable. It's not as expensive.
Yeah, because I mean, you look at all these other countries in the world, every single town has a team. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Every single town in England, like you see hundreds and hundreds of teams. They have so many teams that they need leagues for. So I think having a team like us hopefully can encourage more teams to be created like us to therefore need leagues that can eventually one day all connect to a pyramid.
Yep. No, I agree with you, you know. So the next couple questions I got, Coach Jordan, are just funny. They have, just silly questions. How would you adapt your game if the referee was a time traveling wizard?
Oh my goodness. I would just tell my players to go on for Brexit tackles. Tell them to just not even listen to the ref and just do what you got to do to score, do what you can do to, you know, just, you can't control the refs,
Yeah.
so you just got to forget they're there. If they call something, they call something. Got to
Wouldn't you
move.
be getting a lot of red cards though?
Probably,
Probably. Okay.
but maybe not in the long run.
What's your approach to coaching a team of ghosts?
Oh my God, I have so many dad jokes in as a phys ed teacher, you know,
Okay.
so I don't know. I just feel like just gotta do what you gotta do. Gotta play the way you've been playing, and hope that you're not scared off.
Okay. What strategies would you use if your players had to play while riding unicycles?
Oh man, kick the ball and run. Let's play counterattack. Let's just kick the ball up. Hope we get there before the opponent and score.
Okay.
Happens.
Would you rather have spaghetti for hair or marshmallows for feet?
Oh man, probably spaghetti because I feel like I could just cut it off.
Okay.
I need my feet. Gotta be able to play.
What's your secret talent that even you don't know about?
A secret talent that I don't know about.
Yeah.
Um, I trying to think. These questions, you know, um, even I don't know about. I don't know. I think I could sing, but maybe I can't sing. So
Okay.
maybe I'll give you that as my answer.
All right. All right. If you could rename yourself after any kind of cheese, what cheese would it be?
Swiss.
Swiss. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why? Or just
No, just first thing came to mind. I think.
okay.
Players used to call me that if we ever let up a bad goal, they call you Swiss cheese because it just goes right through.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. So the last one I got for you is if you could only communicate using movie quotes, which movie would you choose?
Probably Rocky. Rocky was one of my favorite movies, and I feel like he's got so many inspirational things. It's
Okay.
how hard you get hit. It's about how hard you get hit, but you keep on going. So I think so many inspirational quotes like that can get me through life. Some things,
All
especially
right. Yeah. All right, Coach Jordan, that's all the questions I got. Thank you so much for being on here with me.
of course, I really appreciate the opportunity. It's been awesome, and I was glad I was able to talk about my story.
Yeah, no, like I said, thank you so much. Oh, another thing is, how can people follow you or know more about you?
Yeah, so on our the best way is my team's Instagram, Spindles United. We're on Instagram, Facebook, all the social medias, and then our personal page is just Jordan Prouty, my full
Mhm.
name. And a big thing is my LinkedIn as well. My LinkedIn is where I use all my connections. Obviously, it's where we connected from.
Mhm.
Big on that, and you simply search up my name, and you'll probably find it.
Okay. We'll put it on the show notes, so this way everybody will have it. They can contact you
Perfect.
and check out the work that you're doing.
Awesome.
Like I said, thank you so much for being on here with me.
Of course. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you everybody for coming on here. Don't forget, the field's empty, but conversation will be over.
Be heard, every insight shared, every single word. Football's the game, but wisdom